Hello everyone, my name is SwingPoynt and welcome to Pokemon Unite. Today I'm going to teach you so much about Mr. Mime. In fact, let's get started. At level 15, Mr. Mime has about 9,900 health. For comparison, Snorlax has about 10,700 and Pikachu has about 6,400. So he's pretty high up there. His regular defense is about 540 and his special defense is about 448. Now I'll talk to you about how we learned these numbers, and I'm going to go into what his skills do, some things you don't know about his skills just from reading the description. We're going to talk about what items you should use on Mr. Mime based on how his skills work and what type they are. And then I'll show you some tips and tricks on how to utilize Mr. Mime while you're in a match, as well as some tricks with Pokemon Unite in general to help make it so you have an easier time while you're playing your matches. Okay? So let's just get straight into it here. So let's take a look at Mr. Mime's first skills here. First, we're going to go to level 15. That way we have a constant variable between these skills when they upgrade. So let's pick Fake Out. What Fake Out does is Mr. Mime goes clap right in front of him and it pushes the Pokemon in front of him. It does quite a bit of damage. In fact, it does a lot more damage than you might expect compared to its counterparts. All right, so take a look at that number, 1,623 damage. Pay attention to that. Now his other skill that he starts with is Light Screen. And it puts a little triple barrier there, and it keeps enemies from walking through it. You, however, can walk through it, so that's good to keep in mind. And you can push enemies into it. Bah! Now, let's go ahead and pick Confusion. So what you might notice here is take a look at the numbers on the data. I'm going to use Confusion now. You see how it's lower than 1623? Confusion is actually a little bit weaker than Fake Out, but Confusion has something going on with it that makes it much stronger. So what you can do with Confusion is if you aim an enemy up against a wall and they hit a collision, they will go ahead and take bonus damage. So watch this 1445, but then notice how there'll be a lot of extra damage that kicks in when he hits this wall. You see how there's an extra 1720 and it adds up to a total of 3,165? That's way more damage than 1,600, right? But the catch is that you need to make sure you are hitting them up against a wall. Now you can also hit them up against your barriers or your light screens, so bop, bop, a really good combo to use right there. And Confusion Plus is about to kick in, and when you hit Confusion Plus, what happens is you just do more damage. So instead of 1445, what you're going to do is you're going to hit 1713, and not only does the damage that you hit the Pokemon with go up, but the bonus damage that you hit him up against a wall also goes up. So now when we push him up against a wall, you'll notice that it does way more damage. So ba ba. And you'll see we had that 1713 damage, but the bonus went up to 2048. So that's a pretty big buff on damage from going from Confusion to Confusion Plus. And to be more accurate, that's actually about a 19% buff from Confusion to Confusion Plus. Okay? Now let's talk about Mr. Mime's other skill here that we picked, Barrier. It's pretty similar to what I said about Light Screen, except you can just have more of them. So you can use this to your leisure. You can put a few of them all around your Pokemon that you're trying to either keep away from you or that you're trying to keep from running away from you. A few things I like to do with Barrier. I like to trap Pokemon that are running away from me. I like to put it in front of me so that I can run through it in case someone's chasing me. And I also like to make it so that it allows me to put something in front of me so I have a wall real quick and then I can hit a Pokemon up in front of it. Get that extra bonus damage out of Confusion. And then one other thing I like to do with Barrier is if the enemy team gets Zapdos, this will open up right in here. So if you have Mr. Mime and Barrier, you can put a barrier right here to try to slow down those other Pokemon from slam dunking on you at the end of the match. So just a little extra line of defense to try to keep people from coming in to get you. You can walk through it, your teammates can walk through it, enemies cannot walk through it. And actually, before we go on to his Unite skill, I totally forgot. He has basic attacks. He goes bop, bop, yeah, bop. So you'll see he does 293 damage per swipe on his basic attacks and then 721 on his special attack. So that's actually about a 250% bonus. That's a really, really, really big upgrade when he hits that basic attack. So if you turn on the gauge in the settings and you can see, you know, which attack is going to be his special attack, you can see we got these two bars here. Well, this third one here, 1, 2, and then 3 is going to be that attack that gets you all that extra damage. So something to keep in mind Just keeping track of that gauge right there if you turn it on in your settings. A lot of extra damage there. Now let's move on to his Unite skill. His Unite skill is really cool. So what happens is he can pick an area to jump onto, and then he does damage over time. So he'll bop. And the damage he does over time is 3 ticks of 674, and then a final tick of 1348. So the total comes out to be about 3,370. So actually less than his Confusion Plus combo, but you can move around while you're doing it. You're unstoppable, and it also makes it so that the enemy team can't really use their skills. So there's a big, big bonus to using his Unite move. Also, his Unite move can jump over walls. So keep that in mind if you want to ambush somebody, okay? Pretty cool how you can just jump over things. So now it's time to talk about Guard Swap. Guard Swap is the other skill that you can pick in your ZR slot. So let's take a look here. So we're going to pick Confusion again, and then we'll pick Guard Swap. Now, Guard Swap behaves differently with Confusion and Psychic. So we're going to pick Confusion first to give you an idea of how things work. All right? So let's pick Guard Swap here, and let's see how it behaves up against the Substitute Doll. So what Guard Swap does is it allows you to target either an enemy Pokemon or an ally Pokemon. If you hit an enemy Pokemon, it'll do damage over time. Now, when Guard Swap is upgraded, you will also heal over time. And that amount that you heal is based off of your special attack damage. Okay? Now, something to keep in mind here is you will get bonus damage if a Pokemon is affected by Guard Swap, and then you hit them with Confusion. And now you see I did 1445 plus 1720. So quite a bit of damage. Now, the reason why we had to make sure we got this in before Confusion Plus showed up is look very, very closely. So we're going to hit him with Guard Swap again, and then we're going to hit him with Confusion Plus. Now, you might have noticed that the bonus damage that we got from Guard Swap with Confusion Plus was still only 1720. It doesn't go up like it does when you push a Pokemon up against a wall. Now, maybe it's because the damage over time that you do, plus the bonus damage, actually equals out to be pretty high. Something like 4,500 once Guard Swap is all done here. Yeah, it's quite a bit of damage. Now, Guard Swap isn't without its weird things that I think might be bugs, and there is some disadvantages to it. So one of the big things that happens with Guard Swap, it might actually be a little hard to show with this guy over here because he's up against a wall. Let me go find another one. Yeah, let's use this guy. So something that happens with Guard Swap is a Pokemon that is affected by Guard Swap and then hit by Confusion no longer gets pushed. They'll still be stunned and unable to move. You see that there with the little stars that go around his head. But he doesn't get pushed at all. So if you're trying to push the enemy away from you, you're not going to get that benefit. Or if you're trying to push the enemy towards someone, you're not going to get that benefit. Also, if you're picking Guard Swap over Barrier, you can't seal off an area behind an enemy. You can't seal off an area in front of you and then walk through it. So there is some disadvantages to Guard Swap. One thing I really like about Guard Swap, though, is it's really easy to use. So if you are running away from an enemy like this, here, actually, let me go see if I can go find the other Mr. Mime. I think I have him somewhere around here. All right, I found him. So one thing that's nice about Guard Swap is you can be running away and then flick and then nail him. It's a really, really quick action that doesn't require a lot of precise aim due to the auto aim in Pokemon Unite. Whereas with Barrier, you kind of have to be a little more manual with it because the auto cast on Barrier is a little clunky. So Guard Swap is really, really nice for quick hitters, on top of the fact that it does damage over time and you heal. Hey, somebody followed on Twitch. Thank you. We do stream every single night on twitch.tv, and we've been streaming this game. If you want to see some Mr. Mime gameplay or tips or really a bunch of other stuff about this game, you can see you guys over there. So now let's move on to some of the really weird things about Guard Swap that I found in my testing. So you know how I showed you the basic damage before where we go, what, 293, 293, 721. So watch what happens when I hit him with Guard Swap. Now suddenly it's 172, 172, 721, 172, 172, 721. So it almost seems like when you use Guard Swap, it reduces your physical attack damage. Because when Mr. Mime uses a basic attack, that is a physical attack, but then his powered up attack continues to be a special attack. All right? And we can further prove this because when he's affected with Guard Swap, well, not you. When this enemy over here is affected with Guard Swap, and then you hit him again with a special attack, the numbers don't go down. He's still hitting that 713 that he would hit with Confusion Plus. Now, the really, really, really weird part about it is that he always hits 172 with his basic attack when he's using guard swap, regardless of the defense. So you know how I said we have Mr. Mime having 540 defense and 448 special defense? Well, the way we figured that out was you can take a look at the stats on the substitute doll here. And every Pokemon has different stats, and you could figure those numbers out by hitting a Pokemon over here and then hitting another Pokemon and seeing how the numbers are different. So you see how the numbers are different here? Now, it says that it swaps defense and special defense when you use guard swap. I don't know who it's swapping with. It's not the Pokemon you hit. So if you see me hit Mr. Mime over here, for some reason, I'm also hitting 172 again. It seems weirdly constant, and I don't know why it's doing that. Another really, really weird part about guard swap is there's inconsistencies in the damage you take. So I'm going to let Mr. Mime hit me a little bit here. So now that I have him affected with guard swap here, you see how things don't really change the way you think they would. Like, I'm actually taking more damage when I was affected with guard swap from his physical attacks. So things get a little wonky. Guard swap does not behave well up against physical attacks. So if you're going up against a Snorlax, watch out, because he's going to start hurting you more. There's a lot of different Pokemon that have a lot of physical attacks, and for some reason guard swap doesn't behave well with it. And I don't know what Pokemon it's switching special defense and defense with. It's not the one you hit, because in the case of Snorlax, Snorlax has way more defense than Mr. Mime does. But if you hit a Snorlax with guard swap, Snorlax is going to start doing more damage to you. So I don't think it swaps defense with who you hit. I think it just changes your defensive values. Just kind of straight. And that it also changes your basic attack value or your physical attack value. So guard swap's got some weird things going on with it that I'm not sure are intentional, but they're real. So now let's move on to Mr. Mime's next big skill here, which is Psychic. You can choose this instead of Confusion. So when we have Psychic equipped, it behaves very, very, very differently. So instead of being a missile that Mr. Mime shoots out, instead what it does is it creates an area of effect. So take a look at this. It creates an area of effect, and everything that's within that area of effect takes 1,223 damage, according to the level 15 substitute doll. Now, a thing you can do with Psychic is you can pair it up with either barriers or guard swap. And the amount of guard swap or barriers that are present will increase the amount of time Psychic explodes. So if we have guard swap equipped and then we use Psychic, you'll see that 1,223 hit 2 times because 1 instance of Psychic and then 1 instance of guard swap. So if you have barriers, you can have multiple barriers up and then you can use Psychic. So you could actually make that number go even higher with barrier. The problem is that everything has to be close to themselves because everything that's within the explosion is what causes that number to go up. So your barriers would have to be pretty close to Mr. Mime. Now, another thing that Psychic does is it decreases the defense and special defense of the target hit. Now, I can't showcase that to you with the substitute doll here because their defense values do not change for some reason. So let's go show you what that looks like on Mr. Mime. Now, since Mr. Mime has more special defense than the substitute doll, you'll see that Psychic here does way less damage. Again, the substitute doll has 361 special defense. Mr. Mime has 448. Now, part of the way we figured that out was when we were testing Psychic here. So let me cast Psychic twice in a row really quickly. You can only do that in practice mode because we can reduce the cooldowns. But then you'll get to see just how much Psychic really does decrease the defense of the Pokemon it's hitting. So we'll do our first one here, and the next one does quite a bit more damage. Kind of around 8% more damage to the target that we hit. But one thing you'll notice is it caps out if we just keep casting it. So take a look at this. You'll hit that 1, 2, 2, 3. It stops climbing for some reason. Now, I'm not sure what that reason is. I don't know if there is just a max debuff value that you can assign to another Pokemon, or if there's a defensive floor, which is the value that the substitute doll has. So that would be 361. I've tested this on other Pokemon and it always caps out at 1,223. Regardless of what their special defense typically is, it always caps out at 1,223. So what that could mean is that the special defense floor, regardless of how many debuffs you assign, is 1,223. Another reason why that's my theory is because if you go ahead and you do this to the substitute doll, again, it never goes higher than 1,223. I have a feeling the special defense floor and then maybe the regular defensive floor is 420 for defense and 361 for special defense. The only way you make this number go up is if you increase your special attack. But that doesn't mean that the special defense is going lower. That just means that your special attack is going higher. All right? Pretty interesting find that we got here when we were playing with Mr. Mime. And you know, actually one more thing before we show you some other things is you see how you get slowed down over here? Well, I have an X speed equipped. X speed just lets you run right through this. So this could be pretty useful if you want to catch people that are running away from you, or if you're caught in a bad area and you want to run away. X speed could be your friend here. One other thing that's really weird about how this guard swap psychic stuff works is take a look at guard swap here. It does 137 healing per tick. Okay. So you would assume that perhaps if we lower the defense, that not only will we do more than 125 damage per tick to Mr. Mime here, we'll also heal more. But that's not the case. So watch us hit him with a couple psychics here. Now, the damage we do is going to go up, but the healing we take in does not go up. You saw how it said 137? So what I found out is that the amount of healing that you do on guard swap is based off of your special attack. Nothing was making that 137 go up other than special attack items. So again, some of the inner workings of this stuff that you wouldn't really think about unless you really got into the testing. Interesting stuff. So let's talk about items for Mr. Mime. The way you base your items that you give to Mr. Mime comes, I think, a lot from understanding how his moves work. So Mr. Mime has special attack moves. When I was doing some testing, I saw that there was different numbers based off of what you equipped. And then sure enough, somebody on Reddit went ahead and had this big chart that was posted, and I think I'll put that in the description, of certain Pokemon having physical attacks, certain Pokemon having special attacks. It is more complicated than just moves are special attacks and basic attacks are physical attacks. So since Mr. Mime is mainly a special attack Pokemon, we would want to take a look at special attack items. So the Wise Glass is here. That increases your special attack by a flat percentage, plus the more you upgrade it, the more just base special attack you get. We don't have exact special attack numbers and exact attack numbers on these Pokemon. If there's a place where you can find them, I would love to know, but they don't really seem to be obvious. I'm happy that I was able to find defense numbers based off of the substitute dolls, but I don't know how we're gonna gauge attack and special attack yet. So either way, Wise Glasses would be a good one. Special attack specs are really nice because whenever a Pokemon scores a goal, it increases special attack by 12. Now, something to keep in mind. Now that's the tier 2. Something to keep in mind with these types of items though, where every time a Pokemon scores a goal, it increases its special attack, or it increases its HP, increases its attack, etc. Those are based off of the quantity of goals you score, not the quality. Meaning that if you score a goal with only 1 AOS energy, that is going to give you the same bonus as scoring a goal that has 100 AOS energy. Okay? So if you have the opportunity, especially early game is usually when you get to do this, where you can turn in like 1 or 2 or 3 or 2 or 3 and 5, like quickly over and over and over again in quick succession, that's how you're going to get the most benefit out of these types of items. They do cap. I don't know how many turn-ins they eventually cap at, but they do cap. But again, you get the most benefit by turning in multiple times, not just really, really big turn-ins. All right? Now for your final item here, if you want to go on the special attack route, you could go Shell Bell, because that will also heal Mr. Mime a little bit. He doesn't cast his skill very quickly. I think Shell Bell's way more awesome on Gengar with his Hex attack. So you could use Shell Bell if you want to. Another option is to go ahead and maybe use a Float Stone, because Mr. Mime doesn't move very fast. So Float Stone might help you move around a little bit more quickly if you go back to heal. But again, really it's up to you. You could equip a vest to make it so you can eat some special attack damage. It's, you know, pick your poison. But just know that Mr. Mime has special attacks, and then gauge your item using after that. Now, as for Mr. Mime's battle item, Mr. Mime suffers from really low mobility. He doesn't have anything that makes him move real fast. So eject button could be really nice because it would allow him to just poof, get out of the battle really quickly. It allows him to have some extra mobility. It allows him to catch the enemy off guard, or if you want to and you want to get a good barrier, you can go ahead and chase the enemy with the eject button. I would consider using eject button on Mr. Mime. And now we can't forget to talk about Mr. Mime's passive before I show you some tips on how to use him at the beginning of the match. And his passive is really straightforward. We don't have to talk about it too much. So move descriptions here. His passive is called Filter. Reduces damage received by the Pokemon for a short time after it uses a move. I went ahead and I did the testing in practice mode. Filter reduces damage taken by 10% for a little bit after you use a move. So it's pretty nice damage reduction. 10% is nothing to scoff at, but that's all there is to it. Nothing more to talk about. So let's go into practice mode here and show you what I would do at the beginning of a match to kind of help put you in a good position for success when using Mr. Mime. So you just started the match. What do you pick? I pick Fake Out because it allows you to hit Pokemon faster, take them down faster, and try to get those initial levels. My big goal when I play Mr. Mime is I try to get him to level 4 before he starts really getting to any engagements. Reason being is Confusion shows up at level 4, and Confusion is so good at taking out enemies, especially early in the game. So if you get the opportunity, do whatever you can to get to level 4 before you start taking on enemy Pokemon. Now, that might be more or less difficult depending on what your teammates are like to hinder your progress on leveling up, but usually you can take out a couple of the Pokemon in the center, and then if you're lucky, you can go ahead and come over here, slap this guy this way, and then try to take out this initial Audino or, you know, the respective Pokemon in the top lane. Again, pretty much anything you can do to get yourself to level 4, because once Confusion pops, you are in a much better position to take out Pokemon quickly. I pick Confusion over Psychic every time. I think Psychic could have its merits in team play where you are talking and saying, hey, I'm about to use Psychic, I'm lowering their defense. But in solo queue, I think you're going to have a way better success with Confusion. And then, for example, these dudes right in the middle here, you can put a shield behind them and then use this way to go ahead and get a ton of damage really quickly. You see how it hits multiple targets? It allows you to clean up mobs really quickly to level up your Mr. Mime. And if you get the opportunity to use this up against an enemy, oh my gosh, they never see it coming. No one is expecting Mr. Mime to be as strong as he is. So now let's say you're going up against another Pokemon here. One thing you can do is put a shield right here to run away. Now he has to walk around it, right? So run for your dang life. I would go ahead and utilize your range when you're playing Mr. Mime. Don't get too greedy when you're playing him. He is really good and he can slap real hard, but don't get too greedy. Where did this Ivysaur go? We're in practice mode, so I don't really know how the CPUs behave. I think they just kind of run away a lot. So another thing I really like to do when I'm playing as Mr. Mime here is I like to put a shield behind him and then throw him up against it. You do a ton of damage. And then his Unite move here makes it so they can't really do a whole lot of anything. Oh, you're running for it, huh? Too bad. Do too much damage. Mr. Mime does a sick amount of damage. He's really good at sniping the back line because of the range of his skill and just because those Pokemon have way less HP. But don't be afraid to use it up against thicker Pokemon too. The big thing I keep noticing with Mr. Mime is people are caught off guard at how strong he is. He can absolutely chunk a team. If you got 2 or 3 Pokemon teamed up together and then you can get a barrier behind them and just slam them like that, suddenly almost their whole team is way lower on HP, and that allows your team to push forward and clean up the rest. Mr. Mime can slap. One other thing I'm not sure I mentioned before is Mr. Mime, he can shoot through walls. And again, I think I did mention that he can jump over walls with his ultimate skill here. So keep those things in mind when you're trying to strategically fight the enemy here. Shooting through walls can really be a big benefit to you. I think it's because this is a special attack. Gets away with some things like that. So this was an in-depth Mr. Mime guide. I put a lot of work into this. I hope it helped you guys out a lot. If you guys did enjoy this and you wanted to see other videos that I do for these Pokemon, other tips and tricks I have for Pokemon Unite, please consider subscribing. I also stream every single night, twitch.tv/SwingPoynt. We're covering a lot of stuff with this game. We're doing ranked games. We're doing viewer games. We're doing a lot of different stuff for Pokemon Unite, and I'd love to have you guys join. If you have any Pokemon you'd like to see me cover soon or next, please let me know in the comments down below. Or if you learned anything, let me know what you learned in the comments down below. And again, with that, you guys are the best. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next video that we do around here.